Find the perfect ride for you today with the New Year New Ride sales event at Guam Auto Spot. Get behind the wheel of the 2024 Outlander Sport starting at just $22,995 or only $156 per paycheck. Visit GuamAutospot.com or call 671-478-AUTO.
Buy fuel, get Wendy's. Drive to your nearest 76 Circle K and get free Wendy's. Yes, free. Fuel up with $30 and score your choice of a 6-piece crispy chicken nuggets or a juicy junior cheeseburger deluxe. Fresh, hot, and packed with flavor. But hurry, quantities are limited and this delicious deal won't last long. So hit the road to 76 Circle K, fuel up, and get Wendy's free before it's gone.
You or someone you know looking for a job? Well, Sentinel Security is hiring and they're offering starting pay between $10 to $15 an hour, and they'll train you too. Email them today that you're interested at sentinelsolutionsguam@gmail.com. Sentinel Security, Guam's most reliable security solution for your home and your business. Kickstart your day with one of Wendy's Guam's breakfast faves, either the morning melt panini, breakfast burrito, or sausage, egg, and cheese English muffin. Your mornings just got delicious. Head to Wendy's for breakfast from 6 to 10:30 in the morning on weekdays and from 6 to 11 a.m. on weekends.
Kandit News is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
What a week. It has been 5 full days since I've been back religiously on my calorie counting program, my fitness program. I came back from Saipan. I went to the funeral of Governor Palacios. I was just there for Friday, Saturday, came back Sunday. Gained 7 pounds in the fewer than 72 hours that I was there. And it's just been a battle to get back into shape since then. And it's working. The calorie counting is working. But I'll tell you, I wish that there were cookies that didn't have so many calories. Like, why is every cookie 200 calories? And ice cream and chocolate. And I don't want dark chocolate. I want milk chocolate. You know what I'm saying? My name is Troy Torres. It is 8:58 p.m. on Friday, August 8, 2025. Tomorrow's my day off. So we'll try to get all this stuff done with, and I'll be back on Sunday with more information, more news, not in the Tenorio corruption case, for which we scour federal archives every single day, multiple times throughout the day to find whether there is new information, but in a separate but related it's not a case, but it's a series. It's something that the media should have done a long time ago, and it is a look into the contracts that Charissa Tenorio has with the government of Guam. And really, this should have been low-lying fruit for the media all of these years throughout the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration. But I think everyone was just so caught up in this idea that the cronyism and the corruption was coming from Governor Leon Guerrero and trying to chase evidence that just there's no smoking gun after all of these years, after all of those suspicions. However, in people's zeal and suspicion against Governor Leon Guerrero, they've forgotten Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and a whole paper trail that exists. And we're going to bring you some of that paper trail tonight. This just with the Tiguac Cemetery situation. Thanks, of course, to Joan Ugancharfris, investigative reporter with KOAM News, for her series that uncovered what has been happening over at basically what has not been happening over at Tiguac Cemetery. We take a closer look into that, and we provide you documents tonight about that. And those documents are explained in a story that I published, that's publishing along with this video editorial. But on top of that, we have more documents from Guam Department of Education, procurement documents, and a whole expose to explain to you about that. And that is just scratching the surface. Today, we sent FOIAs, the Freedom of Information Act, requests for production or for copies of documents related to procurement and payments to every business under the name of Charissa Tenorio and Frankie Rosalin that has had any sort of business with the government of Guam under multiple agencies throughout the government of Guam. That FOIA just went out today to those multiple agencies. We'll give you an update on that maybe on Sunday about where those agencies are. Again, I'm taking a break tomorrow. I need this for my mental health and also for my physical health. I've been waking up at 4:30 every morning this week. I'm back on my calorie counting diet. And so these are I'm going to mass every day. These are the things that are important to me and that I need to keep as my priorities. And I promise, right after that is getting you this information. So, with that said, where we left off with this whole Tiguac Cemetery thing was Angel Sablan, the director of Parks and Recreation. DPR is the agency that has title to and operational control of the Tiguac Cemetery. It is the public cemetery. It's a 30-acre internment park in Nimitz Hill, where Nimitz Towers is. It's just right across the street. And it has fallen into... it has not been maintained. The grass has grown several feet in multiple areas throughout the cemetery. It is a source of constant complaint from the public. And Angel Sablan confirmed that to us, but we didn't need him to confirm that to us. That's just, you can see it right there. It just hasn't been taken care of over the months at least. And so Angel Sablan yesterday, he told us that at least since January, Comfort Cuts has not been paid. Comfort Cuts has the contract to maintain the cemetery. They have not been paid because they have not submitted an invoice. But even if they submitted any invoices since January, Angel Sablan says they have not performed the contract, and he would not sign off on paying them anything. Okay, so we have some sort of answer to things from January forward. And the contract, by the way, ends in September. But the question that lingered yesterday was, what about before January? And how long was this contract? So we looked at this. We found the procurement documents related to this contract. And as it turns out, wait, let me show it to you. As it turns out, this was an invitation for bid. Charissa Tenorio, her Comfort Cuts with Frankie Rosalin, has had this contract since 2021. This is the 5th year. And hold on, let me go to, sorry, my brain's a little slower now that it's past my bedtime already. Where is that stupid thing? YouTube, there we go. There's the contract. Okay. Here's the invitation for bid. It's called an IFB for short, for GSA 015-21. The complete IFB was for the maintenance of Tiguac Cemetery, Ipaw Beach Park and Fort Santa Agata. That was part 2 of the IFB, and then part 3 of the IFB were it's called Southern Grounds. It's multiple areas throughout southern Guam, multiple parks throughout southern Guam. Charissa Tenorio, you don't have to worry about that Ipaw Beach Park and the Southern Grounds thing for now. That was another company or another business got that. But here's the IFB. It's 40 pages long. It says certain things. And just so you know, the assertions made by Frankie Rosalin in the news release that that Comfort Cuts gave out in response to the KOAM story, where they criticized KOAM and the Cowboys and all that, rather than taking accountability. Frankie Rosalin or Comfort Cuts asserted certain things that directly contradict what is in this IFB and what is in the purchase orders and what is in the contract. And so things like what they were responsible for taking. But that's I didn't really care to go into that story that much. But this is so this was in February of where is that? No, that one. It was February of 2021. Where is that? Anyway, one of these documents shows that the IFB was published on February 18. Is that what my story says? Hold on. Stand by. Sorry, I know I should have been a little more prepared than this, but it's just because I'm missing this one document up here. Sorry. Yes, February 18, 2021. Trust yourself, Troy. This was let out on February 18, 2021. It had according to these documents, it had a due date of 7 days later. And it also says, according to these documents, that the deadline for any prospective bidders to submit questions to GSA General Services Agency, that is the procurement arm of the government, was literally 2 business days later. So February 18, 2021 was a Thursday. According to the documents here, prospective bidders had only until February 22, which was a Monday, which was 2 business days later, to submit questions. The problem with that, and it's also interesting that the bid submission date is 7 days later. Because when you're talking about, when you look at Southern Grounds in this, Southern Grounds is composed of 10 or so different parks throughout the southern part of the island. The cemetery is 30 acres. Ipaw Beach Park is 30 acres. The combined acreage of the Southern Grounds is 43 acres. So if a business or a company was going to bid on all of that, they would have to survey and assess 103 acres of land in multiple locations throughout the island, including from north to south. And so you would imagine that that would take some time. Yet GSA only gave the prospective bidders 7 days and only gave the prospective bidders 2 business days to do the assessments in time for them to have questions, write them down, and submit them. So a company called Lucky Kids Lawn Supply. Let me just turn this back over. There we go. A company called Lucky Kids Lawn Care. On the 22nd, by the deadline, they asked if there can be an extension on the bid timeline. GSA's, this is a letter that's, I don't think that's Claudia Akfaji's signature. That looks like Robert Kono's signature at the time he was the attorney for GSA, but it is on Department of Administration Director's Office letterhead. Their response to that was basically to admonish Lucky Lawn and say, look, you guys had there's ample time. We announced this on February 18, and there's ample time for you guys to go and do your assessment within the 7 days. Well, I don't think that that's true, just as a logistical thing, just thinking about the logistics of that, but okay. But he grants the extension to March 8, 2021 at 3 p.m. And then on question 2 that Lucky Kids has, they say, if the bid submission date is extended, can the question date deadline be extended as well. And for the same exact reason, look, we need to give prospective bidders adequate time to conduct site visits and price assessments of the various bid project sites. And according to GSA, no, the deadline for the questions and concerns was on February 22, 2020. They weren't going to yield on that. So what happens is, between this and March 17, when letters start to go out about who is selected and who is not selected, there were a couple of amendments that were done. One, of course, was the bid extension, and another one was expanding the scope of the maintenance that needed to be performed at Tiguac Cemetery to include like pottery, the cemetery. It's not just the grass cuttings, it's not just the clippings from the grounds maintenance, but it's also any other debris that's there at the cemetery. DPR and GSA made that amendment to this IFB, and it went into the contract. So those were the two amendments that happened between this letter, the February 24 letter, and the March 17 letters. So, and then on March 17, here's the amendment. Sorry. So, see there, collection of debris within park grounds. They added artificial flowers, candle holders, plastic bottles, broken glass, broken canopies, etc. So on March 7, that's the bid. Oh yeah, bid status. On March 17, GSA sends a letter to advanced management and says that their bid is rejected due to high price, and that the bid recommended for award, the Tiguac Cemetery part, is going to go to. Let me increase this for you. Is going to go to Comfort Cuts, and the other two, the Southern Grounds and East Ball Beach Park, is going to go to Guam Clean Master. I don't know who that is. Well, we should probably look into that, right? And then on March 17, JJ Global also receives the same letter that they have been rejected due to high price. And same thing, Comfort Cuts was selected. And on that same day, Claudia Akfaji, in a letter that says Claudia Akfaji, she writes to Comfort Cuts and says that they have a notice of intent of possible award. That they have accepted their price of $24,750 per year. Barring any protest, they're going to proceed with the purchase order. Notice that it is addressed to someone very interesting. So it says Comfort Cuts and Ground Maintenance. Attention, Winnie Santos, contract manager. If that name sounds familiar, it's because that's Winnie Joe Santos, who is one of the one of the 7 people indicted in the Tenorio corruption case. That indictment happened on June 25, 2025 this year. And so $24,750, DPR awards this. DPR, by the way, is a line agency. Their leadership is appointed by the governor. Josh Tenorio is the lieutenant governor. They award this $24,750 annual contract for a 1-year term with 4 extensions. 4 annual extensions. Those extensions have been exercised, and they are exercised through September 30 of this year. I don't think that there's an additional extension on this if you do the math on it. So in 2021, right, there's one. 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. Yeah, that should be it. They should be letting out another contract unless they jimmied this somehow. But Angel Sablan has already said that he would not renew the contract simply because of the performance issues that he alleges Comfort Cuts has on this. And so there you have it. $124,750 in a lawn maintenance in a grounds maintenance contract for Tiguac Cemetery for the past 5 years So we know that not all $124,750 has been paid, because we know from Angel Sablan, at least, we're trusting what he says, that from January through the present time, And there's only the only time left in that $124,000 contract is January through September, right? He says from January through the present time, Comfort Cuts has not sent an invoice, therefore has not been paid. And even if they sent an invoice, he would not pay them because of the performance issues. But what we don't know is how much they were paid prior to January. What we don't know is whether their invoices were all accepted as done and performed by Department of Parks and Recreation. And we have sources who are familiar with both Parks and Recreation and Comfort Cuts who allege that DPR officials knew that the work was not done, was not performed according to the stipulations of the contract, and still signed off on the invoices allowing for the payments to happen to Comfort Cuts. We have through FOIA, we have requested copies of the financial documents from Department of Administration and Department of Parks and Recreation to show us how much has been paid to Comfort Cuts since this 2021 contract went into effect. And we're going to get that to you. Not only that, we've asked Director of Corrections, Fred Bordalio, who's been sending the minimum out inmates, the work credit minimum out inmates, to do the job that he says was supplanting the work Comfort Cuts was supposed to do. We've asked Fred Bordalio for the dates that these inmates went and cut the grass over there. Very important to compare against the invoices Comfort Cuts submitted and DPR, and if DPR accepted those invoices, DPR saying that yes, they performed this work, and if that work is allegedly performed within a week of the time that the inmates at DOC performed the work, then I would assume that there'd be big problems for everyone involved in signing off on any of those things, and that Attorney General Douglas Moylan would be absolutely interested in how this investigation into these financial matters and these procurement matters happen. We'll have much more to report to you, especially on the big story regarding the GDOE contract that Charissa Tenorio, Comfort Cuts, Frankie Rosalin had with Guam Department of Education. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Good night. God bless you. And I love you all. Thank you. Thank you so much for bearing with me, even though I'm tired.
We got that dynamite. We got that dynamite.
Find the perfect ride for you today with the New Year New Ride sales event at Guam Auto Spot. Get behind the wheel of the 2024 Outlander Sport, starting at just $22,995 or only $156 per paycheck. Visit GuamAutospot.com or call 671-478-AUTO.
Buy fuel, get Wendy's. Drive to your nearest 76 Circle K and get free Wendy's. Yes, free. Fuel up with $30 and score your choice of a 6-piece crispy chicken nuggets or a juicy junior cheeseburger deluxe. Fresh, hot, and packed with flavor. But hurry, quantities are limited and this delicious deal won't last long. So hit the road to 76 Circle K, fuel up, and get Wendy's free before it's gone.